Welcome to episode 7 of our Losi DBXL workshop series, and in this one we are going to look at changing the steering servo. Quite a common task you might want to do, either through breakages or upgrading it, although the standard one is actually quite good on these. It's something you might want to do, and it's relatively straightforward, but as with a lot of these tasks we've got to remove the body shell and body frame and the roll cage, whatever you want to call it. We've done a video on a little bit more detail on how to remove that, but again it's the 12 clips. We've already started to remove them. We've already started to remove the clips, so we'll take that off and then we'll be back with you. We took the body shell and cage off. Here's a servo, which does work fine, but we will take it out and replace it with exactly the same one. I've got a spare one exactly the same, and we'll show you how to set that up. There's a couple of little steps which you want to remember, or you're going to get yourselves into a little bit of trouble. So here goes. Servo is now coming out. We've removed the 4 servo screws, 2 there, 2 longer ones there, 2 shorter ones there. We've then removed the servo horn retaining screw. We then pull the horn off. Sometimes this will be a tight fit, but this is not too bad. That comes off, and so you've got the splines on there which line up with the splines under there. We then have to remove the servo, which pulls straight up, and you'll see there's a little spacer block here that goes into there. Now, to replace the servo completely, we've then got to trace back our cable in here. Now, standard spectrum receiver. Easy way to remember which one goes in where. 1 to turn, 2 to burn, if it's labelled channel 1, 2, etc. But this one is labelled up nicely. It's got throttle, steering, bind, auxiliary. So we need to make sure this is in the steering. Pull that out. The black or the brown, which is the negative, goes to the outside. Again, I don't know if you can see, it is actually lined up on there. S, which is the signal, which will be white or orange, positive and negative. So that then comes there, and this then goes around the back under here, tucks under there into there, and you want to get that through there because that's what gives you some sort of weatherproofing. So here is our same servo. We're going to put it back in. You'll notice that it's got the rubber grommets on. You should always put these on, particularly on nitro or petrol cars where you've got a lot of vibration. Just damps it so it doesn't shake about so much. And these go on quite straightforward. Basically, you just push them on through the groove there. So we've rewired this through underneath there, and we will plug that into there. Now at this point you could turn it all on, check it all works. I am very confident this is going to work okay, so I'm going to go ahead and slide my servo back in there. In fact, I'm going to put this under first. We'll just put that under there, slide that down there, coil up all our cabling nice and neatly back into here. We've got our aerial which goes in there, which has come a little loose, but we can sort that at a later date. Tuck our case on there like that. So we have put our case back on. So we put our case back on, put the little clip on there, checked it's all sealed down nice and tightly, which it is. Put our 2 screws in at the front, 2 screws in the back, just nipped it up just nice, it doesn't need to be over tight. And now we are going to turn it on. I'm going to use a transmitter here that's started up. And what you need to do on your transmitter, you'll see you've got your steering trim here. There. Make sure that is set to neutral. And you can then turn your radio off. And what we're going to do, we're going to then make sure we put this on completely upright. If you don't turn your radio on beforehand, what can happen is your servo won't be in its neutral position, and you will have your steering will not be in centre. And however you play with your trim on your transmitter, you will not get it straight. Not so much of an issue on this car because you can easily get to the servo horn, but on a lot of cars where you actually have to mount this on before you put your servo and it's in the bowels of the car, it's much more difficult, particularly things like the Traxxas UDR and things like that. You need to do that before you put the servo in, but it's still good practice to do that now. So we'll snip this back up. Turn it on. You see the steering is, you can see the steering now is perfectly straight. You can do fine adjustments on the trim on your transmitter here. See it move a little bit like that. But if, for example, if we'd had it set like that, however much steering you move on your trim, you'd never get it to go straight. So it's important to have this on straight. So the steering works perfect. And that is how to change the steering. If you've got endpoint adjustments on your radio, these haven't. Endpoint adjustments basically limit the amount of travel you've got. On these, it doesn't matter because it's not going anywhere near past full steering lock. But if you had endpoint adjustment, you could then limit the amount of travel you've got each way on the servo so it doesn't overload it. So all we've got to do now is put the body shell back on, and then that's that job done. So there's our steering servo back in, all ready to go, and we'll give it a test. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, 3D printed items. We've got some nice items available. Follow us on Facebook, link down below in the description. Please do like, share and subscribe the video and the channel so we can help to grow it a little bit further. And thanks for watching.